Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. Ms. Dillon, over a year ago, the Department of Homeland Security established a disinformation governance board charged with, quote, review questions of privacy and civil liberty for online content, close quote. This board, fortunately, was short-lived and dissolved in August of 2022. I have a few questions based on the governance board. The first is, should the federal government be in the business of censoring political speech?
Absolutely not.
Second is, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to it, but just to get it on the record, and what about big tech? Should they be in the business of censoring any political speech?
I believe that, of course, corporations have their own speech rights, but when you come to a consumer platform like this, I do believe that the law should be expanded to allow protections, a bill of rights, if you will, for users of social media, because today they seem to be the consumers with the least rights in any industry in America.
Yeah. And I guess the final question is probably the one as to why we're actually here today. And what do you believe, what impact do you believe censorship has of political speech in both the online, the platforms, as well as other censorship? What is its overall effect on general elections?
Well, we can take the 2020 election as an example. The use of government funds and government coercion hand in hand with regulated industries, that is the social media companies, had a tremendous impact on citizens' ability that their speech was not going to be punished by the government. And we saw hundreds, perhaps thousands, just in California alone, who had their posts or their speech about the 2020 election, which is, of course, core protected political speech, removed. This has caused many of those citizens to believe that their voice no longer matters. It deters them from voting. It certainly deters them from speaking. It deters their friends from speaking as well, and this is un-American. And so I think that the First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason. It is the fundamental premise on which we Americans act. It is a beacon for the rest of the world as well. And so when in America our government works hand in hand with corporations to suppress speech, I believe that violates the First Amendment. And courts have been reluctant to recognize that to date due to an outdated Communications Decency Act, Section 230, that is within the power of Congress to fix, and I urge you to do that. But beyond that, even citizens who don't speak on social media are afraid that they'll be punished at work, that they'll be hounded by a mob, that they'll suffer physical consequences for speaking. And so censorship is antithetical to freedom, and the antidote to speech that you don't like is more speech. And this is a fundamental premise of the First Amendment.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for being here today. And I think the most important part of your answer was the fact that it's un-American. So thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.